Hey everyone, thanks for being here today. I'm excited to talk to you about Hitch, a commuter carpooling app. Hitch is a way for users to match with other users that have similar commutes. My name is Paige, pronouns she, her.
My name is Alex. I use pronouns he, him.
My name is Steven. I use pronouns he, him.
My name is Jake, he, him, and Sydney Owens could not make it with us today.
And my name's Dominic, pronouns he, him. And let me get into why we made Hitch. One fact that drove this project was over 76% of Americans drive alone to work every day. And we created Hitch to gain some of these benefits of carpooling. One of the societal benefits would be numerous impacts on the environment listed below. Our employer benefits would be a community and a reduced need for parking. And finally, your benefits, you'll be splitting costs, responsibilities, and stress between other contributors to our community. Now that we know why we made this app, I'm going to let Steven show you how we use it.
Which is a progressive web app using mobile-first design, and users can download the app directly onto their phone. On app launch, we are directed to our landing page.
So as a new user, you can click on the sign up button to create a new user profile, and you'll be prompted to enter your name, your email address, and a password. At any point, if the user forgets to fill out one of these fields or inputs an invalid email address, they will be redirected back to that same login page. And in our card details, the user enters their make, model, and year of their car. And here the user will enter their origin and destination of their route. We implemented the Google Places API and used autocomplete to format our origin and destinations into a better format. Then the user will be prompted to enter the days and time that they travel this route. And then clicking submit, we are posting all of the user information to the backend, and then we are getting all of our matched routes that match that user's commute.
Yeah, and us on the back end, we pulled in this data through multiple API calls. We structure how we access our APIs through a microservice design architecture. This design architecture allows us for easy maintainability and testing for our own developers, as well as reusability for any other applications and other developers. Now, if we could go ahead and click on one of these profiles.
Yeah, so when you click on a user's profile, you should be able to see more details about that user, including their name, bio, profile photo, and their typical ride days and time. And so here we decided to use the Google API to display Google Maps for both the origin and destination. We also decided to show a radius instead of an exact address for the sake of the user's privacy. And so if the user's route looks similar to yours, you can then go to the bottom of the page and request a hitch, which should change the button to pending. And the user that you send a request to can then either accept or deny the match.
On the back end, which is built in a Ruby on Rails architecture, friend requests are handled through a friends table, which is self-referencing back to the original users table. And on the friends table, there's just a receiver ID and a requester ID, which again, refer back to the user IDs, the person who sent the request and the person who received the request. And there is a status that toggles back and forth between pending and accepted, depending on who sent the request and who received it.
So we wanted to build the application from both perspectives, one as from who's requesting a ride and one from the user who can add or deny the request. So we built in this explore button. Clicking this explore button is kind of like a login button, a feature which we haven't built out yet due to time, but it gives you an assumed identity. From here, you could see your matched rides again. We also have a request page. When you travel here, you'll see people who have asked you to be your friend.
From here, you get taken to the profile of the individual who requested the friendship with you. And depending on which button you hit, it will either change the status on that friendship resource on the back end to approved, or if you hit deny, it will delete the resource and then you can friend request again later at some point in time.
Clicking on the approve button, you're now friends with Mary. So we give you access to their email. Eventually, we'd like to build in-app messaging but at the time, we'd just like to give you their email so that you can communicate with each other. One other feature that we built is the ability to view your profile. Here, you see your own page. Eventually, we'd like to give the user an option to add an additional route to their profile.
So this is our database design that we touched on a little earlier. Everything focuses around the user. So the vehicle belongs to a user. The rides, which is the routes, belongs to a user. And then the drive days belong to the rides. That way it can be a joins table. And of course, the friends belong back to the user, and it's self-referencing with 2 user IDs, one being the receiver and one being the requester, and then the status of that friendship. As far as technical design, on the back end, as we discussed, we used 2 microservices, both in Sinatra. One was the MapQuest API and one was the zip code base API. And then our back end was written as a full Rails API app.
For front-end technologies, we use React, TypeScript, Progressive Web App, where we deployed using GitHub, continuous integration with Travis that deployed directly to Heroku.
And some of the lessons we learned were, our first was probably in communication between the front end and back end, including a early and concrete built JSON contract, as well as our front end had no previous experience working with the CI/CD of Travis CI, and appropriately scoping a project of this size in the time allotted.
Some future iterations that we would love to implement would be in-app messaging, maybe using WebSockets. We would also like to implement push notifications for a better user experience. So if a user was to get like a pending request, maybe they would get like a push notification on their phone. Also implementing multiple routes. So a user could add routes to their profile, and then also using login authentication, either using Auth0 or Firebase. Thanks so much for coming to our presentation. We would love to hear any questions you have.